Welcome. My name is Andrea Brown. This is Thrival now, and this is my first YouTube live video. It's December 27th, 28th, and I wanted to do this video just before Christmas, so in some ways it feels a little bit belated, but I have realized in life that many times when I discount myself and I feel like I have missed an opportunity or shown up late to something, that I'm in fact actually early. And so, honestly, this video might not be for you or anyone today, but it might be for next year. You never know. But what's been really on my heart is just the idea of how do you survive the holidays when you've lost everything. And I just want to share a story. You might have heard me hint at it before, and that is how we lost everything in a fire. And that was 6 years ago as of December 22nd. And so we're celebrating that anniversary. And like I said, I wanted to do something a bit earlier, but I really needed to just focus on family. My father-in-law was in from out of town, and with our kids and some things going on, that just needed to be my priority. And so, here it is a chance to do this now. And I just really want to share this story, and it's meaningful. And I think if you listen to the end, you'll hear some of the insights that we gained along the way and the value of doing this. And so, or not the value of doing it, but the value of out of this experience that we've really gathered. And so I guess just to start the story, or to frame it again, there's so many people. We're in the holidays. It's not quite over. It's, New Year's is coming up, but maybe the brunt of it is. But, for many people, how do you survive the holidays and so much of life, no matter what happens, when you feel like you've lost everything or you have nothing? And and my family and I, we're not any stranger to fear or loss or pain in those ways. And so, our story started again 3 days before Christmas 6 years ago, and I was walking our two dogs at a dog park when I got a phone call from my husband that our home was going up in flames, that we were losing everything. There was a fire and everything was gone. And so sure enough, as I loaded them up and got on the parkway to drive across town, it's a pretty visceral experience to see the smoke billowing in the sky miles ahead of you and know that that's coming from your home. And we had been renting this sweet old little farmhouse on something like 6 acres in the middle of Bend at the time. And we had just found out a few weeks before this that the land had finally been sold. And so it was going to be sold to be subdivided and a subdivision built. And so we had been looking at a property looking to buy at that time. We'd been saving, and we knew we just had a couple more weeks at this place. But anyway, I kind of broke through the police barricade and got down to where the fire trucks were, and my husband was bawling his eyes out, and we stood at the fence and just watched basically our life go up in smoke. And what was more than just feeling like we were losing the most important things in our life, heirloom possessions and our outdoor gear and things like that, but it was our livelihood. We watched everything for our businesses just literally go up in smoke. We have 3 businesses, but really 2 tangible ones that had actual gear, and it was everything for our food truck business and our construction business just went up in flames. And as some of the news filtered out to friends who started calling, and we reached out to family to let them know, what we quickly realized was the very first thing most people said or asked about was, they sympathized with us and then stated something about having insurance. And the fact was, we didn't have insurance. I had changed our our carriers a few months prior, and in the hurry with everything, we didn't have that. We'd been in the startup as an entrepreneur, in the entrepreneur journey for a few years, and it felt like we had been on fumes upon fumes in some of those early years, and so it was starting on a shoestring, not even a shoestring, it felt like at times, and it was so difficult. And then when we were cranking these couple years before the fire, we just didn't slow down long enough to reassess and figure out what we needed to we just didn't slow down and make better decisions about the resources and what we could change now that we were making more money. And so it was so hard to answer people and tell them that we had no insurance. It was humiliating. And I personally, since I dealt with a lot of the people, fought a lot of shame on those lines. And out of it, I guess what happened for us, as it came down to it, I finally just remember getting on my knees and just praying, because my husband and I are both strong Christians and committed believers and really believe God intervenes. He's intervened in our lives and in the lives of many people we know. And I just really put it out there and was like, God, we dedicated these businesses to you. This is on you. And these businesses are yours. So you are our insurance. I mean, those were the words I said. You are our insurance, and we have no other insurance. And within an hour or 2 hours later, a really good friend of ours called and asked if she and her husband, they could do a GoFundMe campaign for us. And we were really moved by that. And it was really hard to even allow the opportunity for people to help and in that way, or make it more public or put it out there. And so, they just asked a bit more concrete questions about how much what the value of some of the tools were we lost for our business. And so we shared all that information, and they ended up posting it, and we were truly overwhelmed in the days and weeks ahead. And, but as that was starting to come in, we were completely homeless. The little house had survived to some degree, but it was completely uninhabitable, and, the shop with everything in it had burned. And so, we were, homeless 3 days before Christmas, found ourselves by the grace of the Red Cross, amazingly enough, and some friends, put us up in a hotel. And so we trucked down to the La Quinta where we could bring our dog in, our 2 dogs. We had 2 dogs. Yeah. And, over the next day or two, we made a makeshift little tree out of a lamp in the corner, and, had a few gifts for our son. But, we got in there, and, it was absolutely devastating to be in the holiday season and have lost everything and feel like there was no hope. But there were things that began to happen. And, in the days ahead, we were just overwhelmed when people gave us, it was something like close to $25,000 to rebuild our lives, so that we didn't have to use every bit of money that we'd saved for a home to rebuild our businesses and then have nothing. And so we ended up buying some land, and we bought an RV, and we lived off grid in an RV for the next, we only planned to do it really for a summer and a fall, and we planned to build by the following winter. But, circumstances changed. It turned out we were also expecting a baby in the middle of this. And so we were totally 3 months pregnant when this fire happened. And I just remember, as we're telling family through, crying about what's going on, we had decided we would announce the fact that we were also pregnant. And so we're weeping and the good news is, we're having a baby, and trying to frame the situation in some positivity. And, even that night when we ended up at the hotel, 11:30, we'd trucked over and got all, settled in, and we decided that night we were going to wait to Christmas originally to tell our son that he was going to get a baby sibling. But that night we told him, and, his joy offset some of our pain for sure. And, in the days ahead, in some ways it was the worst timing to have a baby, and in others it was the best, because we needed that joy and that hope in our lives. And, we ended up living, people gave us not only the financial gifts, but the just incredible amount of in-kind kind of donations, they call it, where it's just practical, hands-on gifts that can be used, or things in lieu of money. And we were also given houses to live in for nearly 4 months while we established ourselves and had made the tough decisions about what we were going to do. And so, again, we ultimately ended up choosing to live, let me see if I can show. I had a couple pictures here. I am new to doing this, but, oops, let's see. Here was a picture of the fire. And you can see just the devastation of what was burned there. It was our family. We had gone Christmas tree shopping just shortly before, a week or two before the fire. And so this was I think one of the only times we've actually gone and chopped down a tree, but our little boy that soon got to be a big brother. And we ultimately ended up buying some land and choosing to live. Let's see if I can move these things on screen, a little challenging. But we ultimately decided to, buy land, live in an RV, and we ended up being off grid for the next few years. We again planned to do this for a short term, but when we got into it, we ended up traveling and discovering a whole nother side of that experience. Here's another picture of our property, and realized that we could double down, do things different from a lot of people, stay out of debt, and keep building. And so we did. You can see the tanks in the middle of the picture there. Those were our water tanks. We had those regularly filled with water trucks, and we had pump trucks come and empty the septic on our RV. We had generators, and we had some solar power. We later did get connected to the grid. But just managing and dealing with that all while we were rebuilding our businesses. And we just decided, again, to, like I said, to double down and save and do things different. We didn't want to be in debt. We wanted to get out of debt and find freedom financially. And so, in all of this, as we've looked back, there's a few things that we did that I would encourage you, if you're in any situation where you're looking at loss, whether it's the holidays or not, or just at a bleak circumstances, whether you've lost everything or feel like you have nothing to begin with. And the 3 things that really stand out to me in hindsight was, 1, just getting perspective. We had perspective in the sense that for us, prayer and our belief in God transcended it all, and recognizing that time is finite in light of eternity. But whether or not you believe in eternity, time, we all can see that in the spectrum of our lives, these moments are small and finite in that spectrum. And so really trying to position ourselves in the greater picture of where we were in regard to this pain and loss, that, no storm lasts forever. And whatever we're in, we always feel like it will last forever. When things are good, it feels like they're never going to end. And when things are bad, it feels like they're never going to end. But they do. Seasons change in life, and good things come to an end, and hard times happen, and hard times end, and good things happen. And so just remembering in light of all of that just having some perspective. And for us, one of the keys for that was, a mantra and things I've said. And if you've been on this channel or followed me for any amount of time, you would know, I just live by these words, that your biggest problem is your greatest opportunity. And for us, we just drove a stake in the sand, so to speak, and we just vowed that we would one day look back at this situation and be thankful for it. We wouldn't wish it on our worst enemies, but we would thank God for it in some way in the days ahead. And we didn't know how, we couldn't even imagine it in the moment, but we just decided that's how we were going to live. And so, that, I guess the second thing, so the first was just getting perspective, but the second was people, receiving from people. And it is hard to receive from people, especially when you're battling shame and you want to hide. You don't want people to see your misery or see your weakness or see you in those situations. But I love them. Somebody put these words in my head years ago. It was this confession of learning to be or not learning, but for me, I began to confess it because I needed to learn it. But, I have repeated it many times over that I am a generous giver and a grateful receiver. And it is hard to receive sometimes, and you have to practice receiving. And it can be even more difficult to receive when you need it. And you're battling that shame, like I said. And so for us, I would say that it was huge, and finding a way to receive from people, letting people give, and accepting help in whatever way people offer. You will see, you'll see a shift, and you'll see things change in your situation when you're able to do that. And then lastly, I feel like it just kind of goes back to maybe a variation of what I already said, but just making the best of the situation in the middle of it, and finding ways to laugh with each other and make each other laugh. And for us, driving that stake in the ground, that we were bookmarking our future to look back on this one day with pride and not sorrow and grief, that this wouldn't just be a wound, but it'd be a battle scar. And so making the best of it, even making the best of, spending Christmas in a hotel. We had other offers later for dinner, but, honestly, we needed to just be together as a family, and that's what we chose to do. So we didn't get out and take anybody up on those offers at the time, but just, the little lamp and the way we did a few gifts that Christmas, and the little ways that we celebrated and found a way to just move on, making the best of it was what we could do. And so I encourage you in these moments, these are keys that we can look back on and see that some of the strength and the success we found in these years, finding financial freedom and moving from this place of just sorrow and loss from a fire, just devouring and devastating everything. And, here is a picture of our little baby that a few months later, that summer, what it was to give birth to our second little son, and the joy that was. 6 months later, 6 or 7 months later, whatever it was, to have that already win, that was so massive. And I started this picture showing a picture of our fire, but here was a picture. We celebrated Christmas, and here's just a little glimpse of our house. And I felt like we were richer than we've ever been to have this beautiful little cabin and room for a Christmas tree and gifts, and not tripping over each other. Living in an RV is it's a small confined space, and we have so much, it feels like, even though our house for most people is very small, we're still living humbly. We want to live small so we can live large in other ways and travel large, but we don't even have I don't even think it's 1,200 square feet, but it's so big for us. It's, we are so used to living in 300 or 350 square feet of space that this is rich, and it affords us the opportunity to not have to work every day to sustain our lifestyle. And so I share these, and I want to encourage you, if it's for today or for another day. And I apologize. It looks like the light faded a lot faster than I realized it was gonna. So I think this video has actually been a lot darker, but it's my first one. I hope to do a lot more of these and just save a lot of time uploading and doing things. I just encourage you, if you found value in this, to subscribe and join me on this journey. Up till now, my desire has been to just help you go from survival to thrival in your health, wealth, and relationships. And I think I'm going to be making some strategic changes and honing in on some things in the year ahead. And I'm just super excited about some of the stuff on deck, and I hope to see more of you and share more of that. So thank you. Be blessed, and I pray that whatever situation you're in, that you would find more sweetness in the days ahead. We'll see you on the next one.